All right, bring us home. You've got you're also staying in the Big Ten, a
Hmm.
team that I think a lot of folks are expecting to take some step forward, especially given the way that they ended their season. Question is, how big of a step forward will the Michigan Wolverines take?
And man, you're talking about returning production for Illinois. I'm pretty sure Michigan is about the biggest team that's excited. They're not returning any production in that quarterback room. Somehow, a true freshman is bringing back 50% of their production, not having played last year because their quarterbacks were that god awful. They were so bad last year. We'll get to that in a second. Look, anyone who is writing off the Wolverines after Jim Harbaugh left, you might want to pump your brakes. This might be the time to get in while the getting is good. I don't know if you saw the way this team finished the season, but beating Ohio State, planting the flag, bar brawled right there on the 50. Yeah, Ohio State won the championship afterwards. I guess you got to eat that one. But you beat Bama to finish the season. You had a decent bowl game showing. That's nothing to sneeze at if you're a Michigan Wolverine, especially given the fact that I think there are a lot of people partway through the year that were ready to hit the panic button and ready to say, oh my gosh, did we make a mistake hiring Sharon Moore? Did we, completely rush it? Should we have looked outside? I can't believe we've done this. I think that was overblown. I think it's time to kind of buy back in. And I'll tell you why. Again, the main reason they were so bad last year was that the quarterback play was atrocious. I'm looking over here at their quarterback stats again. Their leading passer was Davis Warren with almost 1,200 yards. He had 7 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. That's not very good. And he was their leading passer. You had 2 other guys that tried. Jack Tuttle, he looked okay in spots. I think a lot of Michigan fans are kind of okay with him. 300 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Alex Orji, not a quarterback. Don't care. Not going to listen to it. As a unit, they threw for 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. That's trash. That's just bad. You can't justify it. It's so bad. And that includes like bad teams on the schedule that you can kind of pad the stats with. They still couldn't pad the stats. It was so bad. And that limited the run game. That limited what they were able to do, with kind of like time of possession, controlling the clock. There were so many games that I watched Michigan this last year and I went, well, this isn't a bad place to punt from. So when they go 3 and out here, they'll maybe be able to keep a little better field position. And that's the entire game for Michigan this year, was hoping somehow you get a turnover and it turns into the right thing. That will not be the case this year. Bryce Underwood is going to improve that. Even if you think he's going to have his little freshman mistakes and kind of, make some bonehead decisions, how much worse can the quarterback position get? Even if he comes in and plays like a high school senior and a guy who doesn't know how to run an offense at the college level, just the fact that he's got some athleticism and can sling it around, he's going to look better. I think he's going to look really good. I think he's going to be the next big thing at the quarterback spot. He's one of those guys I think we'll see in the conversation for Heisman, not next year, but in the years to come. I think he's going to be really, really solid, and I think Michigan is back on the way up. This is still the same culture. Again, Sharon Moore keeping everything in place. That's a big deal. And again, like for me, it's all about schedule this year, being able to ramp up, build some momentum, and sell something next year in the portal. Here's what you got. You get to trade Texas last year for a trip to Norman. That's a great trade. I take that 10 times out of 10. I don't care that you have to go to Norman. Where OU is as a program right now,
Yeah.
very, very bad. I would not want to be in those shoes. You look at the rest of the schedule, you don't play Penn State. You don't play Oregon. You don't play Indiana. You don't play Iowa. The only losers in that situation are the season ticket holders who have to watch kind of a crappy Big Ten schedule. That's really the only real downside to that. The hardest game on their schedule outside of Ohio State, which is in Ann Arbor. And oh, yeah, by the way, I don't know if you remember this, the Buckeyes can't seem to beat the Wolverines, so I'm not even going to tell you that one's a loss. Their hardest game outside of that is what? USC? Nebraska? Maybe Wisconsin if they take a step forward? Like,
Yeah.
who are we talking about as a real threat on Michigan's schedule this year? It's hard to find a way to buy stock low on a team that just won a championship like 1 calendar year ago, basically. But that poor season the Wolverines just had puts them in a great spot to do this. I think they're going to silence the doubters. I think they're going to do everything they need to win games this year. I think that you could see realistically, and I'm not trying to pump the gas or pump smoke up their butts, but I think that there's a chance they could win 11 this year. they could be 11-0 heading into that game against Ohio State, setting up another, top 5 matchup. It could be a lot of fun.
Michigan's over/under, according to FanDuel, is 8.5. So that's low given what you're looking at. Now, I'll tell you why I think 8.5 feels just a hair low, but I think that's probably the quarterback tax, right? Not knowing who we're going to have. If it is going to be Bryce, how he's going to take to college football, right? His second ever game, if he's a quarterback, will be at Oklahoma, right? Like a team that, for all their offensive faults, has been pretty salty on the defensive side.
They've had good moments.
The middle section of their schedule, I think, is when we learn the most about this Michigan team, because at Nebraska, we'll see what Nebraska is. We'll see if Dylan Raiola takes that step forward. But Wisconsin, who I'm expecting to maybe be a little bit better, we'll see. At USC, with Washington, which I do think will be much improved this year. And then at Michigan State, that's going to be I think a lot of people are writing that game off just because Michigan State hasn't been relevant in the last couple of years. But Jonathan Smith has that team trending in the right direction. East Lansing is nasty at times, right? Listen, you don't have to tell those two schools about games in East Lansing. So I think that's maybe the trepidation that I have before anointing Michigan as a 10 or 11 win team. But the defense, the way that they've been recruiting, if they can improve that offense at all, just be efficient by...
how could you not?
Right.
How much worse can it get?
It certainly feels like you could stumble into a better offensive outcome. So if they can do that, I agree. I think the Wolverines right back in there as a Big Ten contender.
And that's kind of the big point here is, we talked about, USC off the top, right? And how they're bringing in a lot of great players, but what are they improving on, right? I made that point off the top is that, you got a quarterback you can be excited about, but is he going to be better than Miller Moss? Is he going to be better than Caleb Williams? Like, what are you expecting in terms of improvement? For me, I would just say, like, where do you think Michigan takes a massive step backwards in terms of quarterback play? Like, oh, he's going to make a freshman mistake and throw an interception and whatever. They already threw 13 picks as a unit last year. He's going to not quite be as efficient with the ball. They passed for 61%, but it was like, on like no yards per, I think yards per attempt. I'm checking this. Yards per attempt was 5.4. Air yards per attempt was 4.3. That's stupid. I'm sorry. You can't play that poorly as a college football program and expect to win anything. I'm surprised that they even made a bowl game with those stupid numbers. It's going to be better. Like, he's going to add something to the run game. He's going to add something as a passer. Yeah, he might stub his toe early, right? Like, if you told me that he loses that game against Nebraska, I wouldn't be shocked. That's a tough game at the beginning of the season. But I think you give him 5, 6, 7 games in, he's going to start hitting his stride. He's going to have those guys around him that can really make it worth as well. I think this is going to be a really solid Michigan team. And this will be one of the better quarterbacks they've had in a while, kind of blossoming in front of their eyes. It's going to be a good Michigan team this year. I would smash the 8.5. Again, not financial advice officially, but I would smash that 8.5 number.
Gracious him! How about that?